Good morning and welcome to the third episode of What's Cooking with Bob. Today we're going to have apple fritters, my favorite all-time breakfast, and it was requested by Matt, my son Matt. So apple fritters for this recipe is basically sliced apples and batter cooked in oil. So I already have 3 apples sliced, 3 different ones. We're going to do a little taste test today, but first let's get started with the batter. So the batter consists of flour, eggs, and baking powder and a little bit of sugar. Now I'm doing this backwards. The recipe says put the water in and then add enough flour to give it the right consistency. So we're going to do that, but I'm going to start off with the sugar. I've already measured a tablespoon of sugar, just plain old sugar. And the reason I'm doing this is so I can mix in the baking powder, 1/8 of a teaspoon of baking powder. That gives it a little bit of rise. I'll put that in there and mix it up a bit. Then we'll put in 3 eggs. One, 2, 3. And now we need a cup of milk. So I have a little pint here and I have just about half of it used. So I don't need to measure, but it's pretty close. I'm going to reserve a little bit in case I put in too much flour. So I saved a little bit. Of course, you could always put milk or water in there too. And now stir it up a little bit. And now for the fun part. We made this one time camping, if I remember right, during a sailboat regatta. Yep, you keep adding until it gets that right consistency. I haven't made this in 10, 20 years, I think. It's been a long, long time, and now I'm realizing why we didn't ever use wire, whatever these are, whiskers. A little more. There we go. That's getting close. Maybe just a little more. Because I'm going to put apples in there, and the apples are going to get coated. And then we want this nice coating to go in the pan to form a nice, crisp, tasty crust. Maybe just a wee bit more. So this morning we already had our hopefully daily, not so daily, walk to the beach and saw the sunrise. Another glorious morning. It was a little chilly. It was in the mid-60s, but it's going to warm up to be the mid-80s today, I think. Okay. And as this goes on, it gets a little thicker. And so this is a little thin, but it'll be fine because we'll wait a little bit. And the longer you wait, the thicker it gets, I think because of the baking powder. So today, I'm also doing a taste test of 3 different apples. Gala, I've already, by the way, you take the apples, you peel, cut, and slice about 1/4 inch thick, and core them, of course. So I have Gala, Ambrosia, and Honeycrisp. And as I was checking out of the store at Publix, the gals in the checkout there were thinking that I'd like the Honeycrisp the best. but we'll see. They're also way more expensive. So that's good. So I'm going to take these over to the stove. I'm going to turn up a little bit so it gets to be. Let's do a little taste test. We'll do a little taste test here, or a little pan testing here. It's pretty good. I'll bump it up a little bit. And this is my grandma's recipe, as I said. She used to make these for my dad and brother and sister and I, and she would make those as fast as she could make them. We would eat them. And she had this tiny little kitchen out on the turkey farm. Actually, people may not know that I was raised on a turkey farm. Out in the little town of Valley City, Ohio, near Strongsville. But if you don't know you're not familiar with the Cleveland area, you have no idea what that is. So here is that. I'm gonna put it on here. Oh yeah, you see it's cooking a little bit. I'm gonna I did bump it up, wait a little bit. So this is the ambrosia. The top is the ambrosia. Normally you put as many in here as you can put. Oh, I need to bump that up a bit. Here is a gala on the left, and the honey crisp will be on the right. So yeah, my grandma had this teeny tiny kitchen with a teeny tiny stove that just barely had four burners on it, and a little one sink, and a small refrigerator, and a table that sat two. Normally you could put 3 people on if you jammed people in there, and that was her kitchen. And my, could she cook. She would cook whole meals for all the farm hands when they came there for a turkey killing day. But anyway, so you can see the apples cooking. The hard part now is to not touch them. So we said this was the ambrosia, gala, and honey crisp. I'm gonna try and keep those straight. Yeah, it should be a little warmer. And when she would cook this, she'd have one pan on the stove, and then she had her electric skillet out for the other thing, so she could get 2 pans going at once. And normally, when I'm not doing the taste test, I would put all the apples in here and just pull them out as we go, so you could get cooking a lot faster. But anyway, over here, it's getting close. Nothing like waiting. You know, I'm not a very patient person. This is kind of hard. So when you eat these, it's what she says in the recipe. And by the way, it was a handwritten recipe, like she did all her recipes, but it says to put powdered sugar or syrup on it. But I think she got the or mixed up. It's supposed to be an and in my case. But do what you want. All right, this one's getting pretty close. Let's take a look. Oh yeah. I'm gonna get a fork here to help me. Oh, yes. I'll let this one go just a little bit longer. And I never realized, so my producer's trying to tell me something. What are you trying to tell me, Susan?
I think the oil's getting too hot.
Oh, you do, thank you. I'll turn it down a little bit. All right, this one's ready for flipping. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So what this does is it kind of cooks the batter, and as it's cooking the batter on the outside, not giving a nice pretty color, it's also warming the apple and cooking the apple a little bit, so it's no longer hard and firm like a fresh apple, it is nice, you know, it's a little softer. Let's take a little peek here. Oh yes. So I'll take this and put it on a paper towel, let it drip a little bit. So that is the ambrosia. Here is the gala. And coming up a little bit longer on this one. And again, you slice the apples and core them. You slice them about 1/4 inch thick. Yep, looks good. And as these are cooling a little bit, I'll get the next batch going. And here is the Honeycrisp. Okay, so now comes the best part. Get a little bit of the oil off. So here is the ambrosia, gala, and Honeycrisp. Now that's cooking. I'm gonna come over here real quick. Put a little bit of powdered sugar. And syrup. You know, this really is a healthy meal because it has a couple food groups in it. It has fruit and it has flour and canola. So it should be pretty healthy, I think, in my book. See, they don't take long to cook once you get going here. So now the taste test. Here is the gala. How I remember them. The ambrosia. I like the ambrosia a little bit better than the gala. It's a little softer and maybe not as sweet, but it's a little softer and more like an apple pie-ish flavor. Now for the Honeycrisp. Honeycrisp is pretty darn good. Actually, any of these apples are really good. So either one would be just perfect. So we have to stop this filming business here and start eating. And I wish everybody a good morning and hopefully have a good day and stay healthy. Goodbye.